So, you got my money?
What's up, everybody? Welcome back for another installment of 10K Bets. Tonight, we're talking ball. We are we're less than a couple weeks away. We got just over 1 week away till week 0 college football. We got preseason ball on the TV. Life is good. I feel like I'm finally getting my personality back even a little. With me, we got Sammy Stats. Sammy, how you doing?
Couldn't be better. It's football season. We waited all summer for this. Pretty sick of watching baseball. So pumped. I mean, we got week 0 next week, and then just from there, college, obviously will be full force, and then in a few weeks we'll get NFL. It's just going to be awesome. It's going to be great. I'm so excited. My mood's just skyrocketed. So it's fantastic.
Isn't that just crazy how your mood
nuts.
just gets significantly better just knowing football's in your life again?
It's awesome. It's really awesome. Again, we've just waited all summer for it, so I'm just so pumped.
Yeah, absolutely love that. For those of you guys joining us, if you want to chat along, feel free to go on Facebook and our YouTube to comment along. Sorry for those of you joining us on Twitter. We can't see your comments, so yeah, join us on Facebook or the 10K YouTube and throw your comments. Let us know how you're feeling. Any preseason bets you like, maybe we'll throw those. We're going to talk some futures at the end, but we've been going along with the NFC North theme here on Underdog. So I guess we're going to start with the best way, the easiest way to play daily fantasy with Underdog. Use the code below there, 10K, to get 2 times your deposit on your first deposit, up to $100. So we talk a lot about the pick'em games. They're definitely the easiest way to play daily fantasy. You just pick higher or lower on any of the stats there in the feed. Pick your player to go higher. I like to go higher. I'm always a fan. Life's too short to bet lower, right?
That's right.
So that's what we're going to get into here today. But yeah, use code 10K, 2 times your deposit, up to $100 on your first deposit.
Best deal around.
Love it. Absolutely. And so we did running backs. Cam and I did running backs on Monday night. That was a little tricky one because running backs can get injured. They just have injury tendencies. Very difficult. Tonight we're going to talk wide receivers, which for the boys in purple, we know we got the best wide receiver.
Yes, we do.
Are we going higher on all of JJ's stats? Let's just take a deeper dive into that. We got 6.5 100 receiving yard games. I think that's a lot, but I mean,
it is a lot.
Definitely do it.
But yeah, it's there for a reason. It's like what we saw last year is incredible, and it's hard to do that 2 years in a row, obviously. But I mean, if anyone can do it, it's JJ. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot, but at the same time, it's like he gets rolling a little bit, and then he has 3 weeks in a row, and there's half your games you need in a full season. So
right, I think of the JJ stats, all right, so we have 1,420.5 receiving yards, or 8.5 receiving touchdowns, or 105.5 receptions. So I think he's been pretty good on the injury front so far. Obviously, some nicks and bruises here and there, but the one I'm looking at is the 8.5 receiving touchdowns. I think he's for sure getting 10 this year if he plays a full year, even close to it. So I like going higher on Justin Jefferson's receiving touchdowns. So that's my pick here. I think the 1,400 yards is high. I think it requires him to play at least 16 games, knowing he'll get a little bit more attention. But the Addison factor does help that one out a little bit, right?
For
So
sure.
what do you think on the yards? That seems a little high to me.
It does. It seems high. And yeah, if you look at last season, it's tough to kind of compare. It's like, oh, it's a no-brainer higher, right? Just based on what he did last season. But it's hard to back that up for a second year in a row to do that. And that requires him to stay healthy, right? I mean, we've been blessed where he hasn't missed really any games. So, and if he gets injured, that's 2, 3, 4 games maybe, depending on the severity of it. it's one that I don't know if I would touch. It almost seems like a sucker line, like it's a little lower than. So, and again, with the injuries, I'm with you with the touchdowns because he doesn't have to play all 18 games to hit those touchdowns. You know, if he plays like 14 or 15, this is barring an injury, of course. I still think he can do that. You know, it just a couple games he gets 2 and then he gets 1. He might have a 3 game. Like, so yeah, I like if I was to pick one out of there, I would do the receiving touchdowns or the receptions. Just because, you know, when he is full go healthy, it's, you know, 10 a game plus. So I do like the receptions still, even with a potential injury. But yeah, no, I think I would ignore the receiving yards. I definitely wouldn't take the under, but I just probably wouldn't play it. But as far as the touchdowns go, I would take the higher on the touchdowns. I'd take the higher on the receptions, and I would even take the higher on the 100+ receiving games, or receiving yard games. So.
I agree. Yeah, though I like going higher on all of them. Obviously, maybe I'm a little biased here, but yeah, the 1,400 receiving yards. I mean, he makes it look easy, but that's no joke.
No.
You can't just expect that every year. And plus, who knows? Like, I think the Addison factor plays a lot into this. And so, staying on the Vikings theme and then moving over to Jordan Addison, he's got 2 stats available where you have 825.5 receiving yards, or you have 4.5 receiving touchdowns.
I love them both. It might be one of my favorite bets or plays rather on Underdog. I'm going to take the higher on both of them. It's one of those things where I think they're going to be doubling and maybe even tripling, for sure doubling Jetta's a lot, which, you know, might leave one-on-one. It will leave one-on-one coverage with Addison. And I think 825 is it's probably pretty fair for a rookie. You're not really sure how good he's going to be, but with our offense, I'm a huge fan of that number. And as well as the touchdowns, 4.5 touchdowns. I think he gets 6 or 7, especially because he's pretty much a wide receiver too. Obviously, some touchdowns will go to Hawk. Some touchdowns are going to go to KJ Osborne, I'm sure. And then obviously a ton are going to Jettas. But I still think with the way our offense runs, that 4.5 should be pretty good. So I'm going to play the higher on both of those. I'm not sure. I know you can't put them in the same slip.
Right. You can't do it. So, yeah, you have to put Addison.
I wish I could play him in the same slip, but I'll just play. I'll do a Jettas and then an Addison, Jettas and an Addison, and try to, you know, make sure they don't overlap there. But yeah, no, I like them both. I like both the Addisons almost more than any of the Jettas ones. Maybe I'm just super high up on our new rookie. I got him in fantasy, super pumped about that. But I think he's going to be fantastic. He's going to make us forget about Adam Thielen so quickly that I'm going to love him. So I'm really pumped with Addison. Those numbers too, they're probably pretty spot on as a rookie, but I'm just going, I have to go the higher. I mean, I watch every game, huge fan. I got to go the higher.
As an MSU Mankato alum, it breaks my heart for you to say how quickly we're going to forget about Adam Thielen.
I'm sorry about that. But I think me and you both know that if Addison goes for 1,000 yards and 7 or 8 touchdowns, I don't think we're going to really be like, oh, man, I wish we still had Adam Thielen. Like, obviously, deep down, it sucked to let him go. But I just think he'll be, you know, for better or worse, replaced with Addison. But I know we're going to miss him. I know, Mike.
Right. Yeah. No, when I looked at this earlier today, I looked at this morning before I opened up the Underdog app, I was thinking, what is Addison going to be? And I thought 1,007 is what that's what I think he's going to get for a yards and TDs line. So I was very relieved to see this. So I agree. I lean more to the 825.5. I lean more to the receiving yards if I'm going to play one higher here. With how many weapons the Vikings have, that is one thing where like we can't guarantee who's going to get touchdowns. Like I'm even thinking when we were talking Madison on Monday, like when the Vikes get inside the 10, like who's going to get these touchdowns? Like, is Hawk just going to vulture everything inside the 10? They're just going to throw it at the goalpost and let that boy come down with it. Like the Vikings red zone offense is what's really going to influence a lot of these touchdown lines. So
yeah. No, and obviously I'm sure some will be stolen by Madison or whoever else is going to
Madison and Hawk. Yeah, I think like they could get 70 to 80% of our red zone touchdowns.
Right. It is tough. No, it is tough. I definitely hear you there, and I don't blame you for leaning more on the receiving yards as rather than the receiving touchdowns. But I'm just so high up on them. I got to play both. But I hear you. If you were just going to pick one, I do not blame you for picking the yards over the touchdowns with the amount of threats we have in the red zone.
All right, that's enough about the purple. Let's move on to the good, the bad, and the ugly of the NFC North here. Yeah. Let's go across the border into Wisconsin, the hellhole it is, and let's talk about Christian Watson. We got 850.5 receiving yards, 5.5 receiving touchdowns, and then 62.5 receptions. The interesting thing here, before I kick it over to you for your opinion, those are closer to Addison's numbers than they are JJ's numbers.
Oh,
and Watson's their number one. So what do we think, Sammy? What do we think? I mean, for all these Packer fans trying to anoint Christian Watson in the same breath as JJ, please,
crazy,
quiet yourselves.
Quiet down. It's tough, right? So you have a new time quarterback, right? You have Love, who's projected to start every game, of course. And who knows about kind of how Watson and Love work together, kind of their chemistry. I'm sure it's okay. Watson is supposed to be the wide receiver one on the team. I like the touchdowns there, higher than 5.5. I think he'll be definitely a guy that Love is looking for. I would ignore the yards just because I'm not really sure how that offense is going to click all year. I would definitely, if I was to pick one, I would take the touchdowns. I'd probably take the receptions too. But I don't think I'm going to play any of them. There's just so much uncertainty with Love in this first season. I know he's a wide receiver one, and he'll probably get a good amount of targets. It's just too much of a question mark for me to play all of them. If I was to play one, it's probably going to be the touchdowns. But yeah, I mean, that's just my side of it. I don't want to force a bet on this, especially for a full season. And if it was Rodgers, completely different story, right? But with Love, I'm just, I know he's looked pretty good just in that first couple of drives that he played when Rodgers wasn't in last year. But I mean, now you got a full season, right? So, just too much uncertainty. If I was to play one, I'd play the higher than 5.5 touchdowns. But again, I wouldn't want to force anything here, especially with this kind of whole new offense. With Love at the helm, I'll probably pass on it. But if you are a Packers fan and you are looking to place one of those, I would probably take the touchdowns, 5.5.
Right. I'm in a similar boat to you. I don't love any of these. I'm looking at the same two you are, but I lean more to the receptions because as the bona fide number one in Green Bay, Love's going to be looking his way plenty. So that's kind of where I lean. It's really frustrating. The touchdowns even are a weird one for me for a team that relies so much on red zone scoring. Watson, most of his touchdowns are deep balls anyway. Like they're not in the red for the most part. And then they have a similar problem to the Vikings where like who gets the ball inside the 20, where they have AJ Dillon, they have Aaron Jones, they have a couple giant tight ends. A lot of people are high on Luke Musgrave from Oregon State, the rookie
He
that
will
they
be
just
good.
drafted.
He will be good.
I
high on him too.
Yeah, I like, as a guy who plays a lot of fantasy football, like over the years, even with Rodgers, like I got excited every year to just say like, dude, this tight end's going to be good with Aaron Rodgers. And then like they never, like all the big names never worked out, like Jimmy Graham.
Right.
Then there was Jared Cook for a little while. And then
They had
like
Mercedes Lewis.
Yeah. And then the one that probably was the best out of all of them,
Tanyan.
yeah, it was big game Bob Tanyan. Like, what? Like, how does that work? So again, the no-namers, if they have a name you don't recognize right away, chances are they're going to be a lot better than any brand name tight end if they wear the green and gold. So that's just a personal opinion there.
And as a obviously we hate the Packers, but I do think Musgrove's going to be good.
Yeah.
Like I watched a ton of his shit at Oregon State.
Yep.
He was terrific. I think he's going to be good. If I was a Packers fan, I'd be really high up on Musgrove.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt. That's enough Packer talk, though. Let's kick it over to Detroit, which, the hype train is running at full speed on the Lions still. Full speed. Let's talk about the sun god, Amon-Ra St. Brown. We have 3.5 100-yard receiving games. Then you have 1,050.5 receiving yards, 5.5 receiving touchdowns, and 95.5 receptions. And this one's a little tricky because they use him in a lot of different ways. My buyer beware before I kick it over to you is on the receptions. He gets the ball in the backfield a lot where they do these weird touch passes and reverses. And just buyer beware. I don't want any of our listeners or viewers to get screwed on this one. So just take it with a grain of salt. He's not always catching slants or stuff's downfield. He gets the ball behind the line of scrimmage a lot. So just be careful if you are doing that one. You might get screwed on how they're keeping track.
Yeah, no, I totally hear you there. This one is tough. I'm a huge St. Brown fan. And it sucks because I'm not a Lions fan. But this kid is legit. If I was to take one, I would definitely go for the higher than 3.5 100+ receiving yard games, because he's got that big play, big game mentality. I think he should be able to have 4 games with 100+ receiving yards. It's tough to take all of them, especially with how you were saying, they use them with the pitches and with the throws, and they do all sorts of stuff where he could be factored in. So again, the yards, I don't know if I'm a huge fan of that. I like the touchdowns, 5.5. I like the higher there on the touchdowns. But this is another, like you said, kind of a beware player because the Lions have so many tricks in their offense that, you can kind of get screwed by that. But if I was to take one, which I'm likely going to, I would take the higher on the 100+ receiving games is what I would do, just because he is the one. I would assume he's got a pretty good relationship with Goff. So, that's probably, if I was to pick one, that's what I would do. I'm likely going to play that one. I'll probably play that one, honestly, with Addison touchdowns. Potentially DJ Moore, and we'll talk more into that coming up next here. But I'll only I only do the pick 2.
Right.
So that's probably what I'll, throw it in with.
Nice. Yeah, no, I think you pretty much covered it all there. I like that 3.5. I like the 5.5 receiving touchdowns because, again, like unlike Watson, who has the same line there, he can catch the ball in space and kind of short yardage, so he can still kind of shifty find some space in the red there. So I like that. I'm going to take 5.5. I'm going to take higher than 5.5 receiving touchdowns.
Yeah.
And then this one, the next guy, just moving right along here, DJ Moore, Chicago Bears, huge trade in the offseason. We both love this one. I'll let you go first on DJ Moore.
I think I'm going to play all three of them, to be honest. I'm going to take the higher on all three of them. I think DJ Moore is and it, of course, it breaks me, to say it as a Vikings fan and he playing for the Bears, but I think his connection with Fields is very strong. We saw it just in that one big play in the preseason game last week where he went deep to DJ. He's the number one on the team as far as wide receiver goes. I know Fields is going to use his legs a lot, and it's not like he's a pocket passer, but I do really like DJ Moore. And to see his receiving yards under 1,000 for a number one player, number one wide receiver on a team that Fields has got a good arm. Again, I know he runs the ball. I know he creates space for himself to make plays, but I'm very high on DJ Moore. So I like his higher than 860.5 receiving yards throughout the season. Again, this is barring that everyone stays healthy, right? So of course, if an injury comes and he misses 6 games, it's likely going to lose, right? But if he stays healthy, I think 860 is very manageable. And I really like the 5 receiving touchdowns and 62.5 receptions. I think this is a breakout year, DJ Moore. He's been good, not great. He was also in Carolina where they've had questionable quarterbacks. I am a huge fan of this guy and these numbers. And I'm probably going to play all 3, but if not, I'd just play 2 of them. I'd probably take his yards and his touchdowns or receptions. It's very tough. I like them all. So I'm not sure which ones I'm going to do, but I am high up on DJ Moore. I think he's going to have a breakout year, which might, maybe people might not think so. But I am high up on him. I like him.
Nice. No, my favorite bet on the board here, my favorite play is DJ Moore higher than 5 receiving touchdowns. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've watched many games when he was in Carolina, and you were very nice about it. No, his quarterbacks were absolute dog shit.
They suck.
And DJ Moore was the one bright spot in that offense after McCaffrey left, and he still found ways to be productive. And now that he has a very, I guess, high, I don't know if I'd call him a high end. I'd probably still say high potential quarterback in Justin Fields. DJ Moore is the best player on the Chicago Bears roster right now. Yeah. I can confidently say that. We don't know exactly how good Fields will be yet. He's still got some things to work out, but we know he throws a good deep ball. Yep. And we know DJ Moore is good at running deep routes and scoring touchdowns. So I think he even gets 5 touchdowns in Carolina with the Carolina's backup. So I think that's a no-brainer. I think I am going to, my favorite two-man entry is DJ Moore, and then I'll pair it with JJ's receiving touchdowns. And I might hammer that for just a full bag bag at that one.
a Louis Vuitton. Yeah. I totally hear you. I like it a lot, man. Being the number one is so big, and just reiterating the points you brought up. I mean, he knows how to run a deep route. Fields throws deep balls. We saw it last week. Again, it's just, I think they're going to work really well together, and I think that the Bears made a really good trade for that first overall pick, getting DJ Moore. I think that was really good for their offense. It breaks me to say it, right? Because obviously I want the Bears to have 3 wins this year, but in all reality, they're going to have more. They're going to be relatively solid. They probably have some question marks still, obviously, but I think they're going to be better than last year.
Yeah, I'd hope so. I think that's where most people are saying that's how they're trending, So, yeah, last thing I'll say about the NFC North, man. The Lions are still the Lions until they prove us otherwise. But that's that.
Yep.
Use code 10K and check out Underdog today. If you don't have it, you need to have it for football season. It's absolutely essential. So yeah, get some free money. Use code 10K. Now let's switch gears over to the college game. Exactly from today, we are 2 weeks away from Golden Gopher football, which is awesome.
Yep.
And so, in that spirit, I want to know, Sammy, what are some of your favorite college football games that are on the slate for the whole season?
Sure.
Not just Gophers.
Yeah.
The whole game. Obviously, there's a lot of crazy matchups.
Yeah.
To be had, and I just want to hear some of the ones that you're most excited about.
So I got three. I got three games that I am 100% clear in my calendar. I'm having what you would call a personal day. I mean, these are three games I watch every snap of. Very pumped for them. First one, I guess we could go in order of closest to then farthest away. October 7th, we are USC Notre Dame. Notre Dame is plus 1.5. That game is unreal. Super pumped about that game. I believe it's in South Bend.
It is. It sure is. So that game is on October 14th, my birthday. So wow. October 14th is going to be a great day.
I don't know why I had it 7th. Okay, it's the 14th.
And we do have a line on that game. USC is favored by 1.5. So a lot of books, they share their lines for their biggest games starting in July. So we have a line for that one. USC minus 1.5 on the road. Very interesting. I don't know. The big question about that one is, can Caleb Williams play at the same level this year that he did last year? I mean, I think he probably has one of the better chances to be a Heisman contender. And is back after the year after winning the Heisman. I feel like we haven't had that since like Tebow.
Yeah.
In back-to-back years. So yeah, what do you think? Does Notre Dame have a shot to pull the upset at home?
It's tough to say that right now because I haven't watched one snap of either team. I will have far more of knowledge as that week comes. But I think Notre Dame, this is a big game. It's in South Bend. This is a get-up game. Nobody's going to classes. This is a huge, huge game. And Notre Dame's plus 1.5. So obviously, that's not even worth taking the points. You take the money line at that point.
Right.
I will most likely be taking Notre Dame money line. I do have a pretty big bet this year. We can touch more on it in our futures. But I do have a pretty big bet on Notre Dame's over 8.5 wins this year. Yes. So this is a mega big game to circle because obviously this is one they could easily lose. But I do think that they are going to be getting up for this one, maybe the biggest one of the season. And I will likely be taking that money line. Obviously, I'd need the game for my over to hit. Or at least have a better shot at it hitting. But I think Notre Dame can hang with them. It's going to be, I would assume, probably a pretty fast-paced football game. The over's probably not a horrible bet to make there. I don't see a ton of defense being played, especially with how USC runs their offense. But that's a comeback to me game as far as what side and how these teams look. But I am very pumped for that game. It's going to be huge. I'm sure they're flexing it to like 7:30.
It's a night game in South Bend. Yep, absolutely. NBC's taking that one. But on that note, I agree with you entirely. I'm leaning Notre Dame money line, and I'm leaning the over. I haven't seen the number on the over, but last thing I'll say is USC's defense is absolute dog shit. And until they prove me differently, like I don't know how Alex Grinch still has a job as USC's defensive coordinator, if we're being completely honest. So yeah, I mean, Notre Dame has an amazing home slate this year. If you have Notre Dame season tickets, this is a great year to have them. I'll say that much. What
Yep.
else you got?
Okay, so that's the first game there. Second one is we go 2 weeks from that day, and we got Alabama LSU.
Every year, it's a classic.
Yeah, it's a classic. It's awesome, right? Currently they have Alabama -7. Again, it's just hard to direct a side here when you haven't seen either team play. But that game is just bound to be very fun, very good, likely high scoring. I'm sure that total is going to be mid 60s, 63, 64, 65, something like that, just based on past games. I'm sure Alabama's good for 30 that game, at least. It's just, can LSU pop 30 as well? I believe preseason, what is it, like 4 versus 5 or something? If their ranks were gonna stay towards that day. I mean, it's gonna be a classic. It always is a classic. October 28th. Can't wait. Definitely gonna have action on it. Likely gonna use underdog there. Find a nice little pick'em entry. 2-legger, probably going to take an Alabama quarterback and an LSU quarterback. Typically what I'll do for something like that. Very, very excited though. Alabama, if gun to my head here, I'd likely say that Alabama's going to cover that 7 line. But too early to tell. I got to see how Alabama's rolling, LSU rolling. I know it's at LSU, correct? Which is just
I want to say it's at Bama this year. Is it? Because I think remember they had that crazy game in overtime last year.
It would make
I thought that was at LSU.
That it would be at Bama just based on that line.
Yeah.
A 7-point favorite going to LSU for LSU being dogs is terrifying there. So that would make sense if it was in Tuscaloosa. But that either way, that game is absolutely electric.
Yep. At Bryant Denny Stadium. Yep. So, and again, I think that's another situation where, you could see them burning up the turf. But I think my hot take as we get closer is that they might play in a defensive struggle on that game. One of those games where you expect a lot of offense and they don't. But
it just isn't.
You can see them ripping up the
at all. I don't hate that take at all. That's going to be really fun. So Alabama, LSU, October 28th, and my last game before we hit your thoughts on your games, Ohio State, Michigan. November 24th, they have currently Ohio State as a 1.5-point dog at Michigan. Another just instant classic. Very pumped for that. Again, I have no clue who I would take right now. Hopefully I would know once November 24th comes around.
I can see the future on this one if you want me to tell you right now. I know who's going to win. I'll tell you, I mean, Ryan Day has not shown a pulse against Michigan in 3 years. Mm-hmm. So I think with all that Michigan's getting back, Michigan definitely just reloaded from last year. They have 2 of the best running backs in the nation. They get this game at home in the big house.
Yeah. No, I know.
I think this could be the end. And who knows? I think Ohio State is way overvalued in the preseason. I think that there's a lot of people that are kind of just betting helmets. Mm-hmm. And like, who's to say that Kyle McCord is just going to step right in and he's going to be exactly what CJ Stroud was and exactly what Justin Fields was? Yeah. I think that there's a huge uncertainty there. And there's still even a little bit of a quarterback competition from what I understand in Columbus. We know about their wide receivers. There's still question marks about quarterback and there's question marks about defense as well. And I think that there's just a lot more veteran team over there in Ann Arbor and they make them pay. And again, if you're Ohio State, it's unacceptable to lose to Michigan 3 years in a row, and it's probably going to cost Ryan Day his job this year.
Yeah,
so
which
there
is
it
really
is.
Tough because Ryan Day is a hell of a coach. It's just for whatever reason versus Michigan, he's got a lot of troubles. He's had troubles. That's going to be an instant classic. It's going to be fun. Likely, it's going to be a heavy dose of Michigan ground and pound. Just as far as the run game goes. But no, I am very excited for it. This is one that I don't even need to watch any games. I will be taking the over. I'll be taking
Track
the over all day. I don't know.
Again, like that game last year, even right? Like
There
it
was
was like
6 million points.
there, and it's like this game was close, and then like
and then it was.
Michigan just somehow scores 30 in the fourth quarter. It's like,
Yeah.
what is
It
going
was
on?
like it wasn't close anymore. Typically a Big Ten total, hopefully high 40s, mid 50s, but with this one, I don't even know.
67. It's going to be 67.
It could be like
unless it's snowing, unless it's an absolute
Yeah.
like an avalanche comes down a mountain that spikes up in Ann Arbor
Yeah.
into the big house. Like I don't see like that anything slowing them down. It's going to have to be the elements. And even a few years ago when the last time it was in Michigan, it was snowing and Michigan still put up 40.
For sure. No, I totally hear you there. I will be playing that over. I'm hoping that they give me a decent number on it. It's hard. If I see 65, it's going to be hard for me to take the over.
Mhm.
Just being a Big Ten game.
Could have some weather. Yeah.
There could be, some defenses that show up here. But if I get a high 50s total, I mean, that's like a game of the week type of bet there that I feel pretty good about going into it. But those are my games: USC, Notre Dame, Alabama, LSU, Ohio State, Michigan. Those are 3 on my calendar that it's like, don't text me, don't call me, I'm busy. Like these are the games that are on my to-do list. That's I'm sure there's more. There's always going to be more. But those 3, just on a brief look, are the ones I'm most excited about.
Right. Hey, all right. I got to call you out on this one. You said Ryan Day is a good coach. I have a hell of a grudge against that man. Ever since he burned me, I bet on Ohio State in the 2020 college football.
It's always a gambling deal.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And J.K. Dobbins ran all over Clemson, and they had a couple bad calls go against Ohio State. I'll give you that. But you had they were settling for field goals in the red zone. Like Ryan Day clearly just wasn't. His play calling was just way off, and it screwed him the game. And it cost me a decent amount of money. But you let Trevor Lawrence run all over you and throw the ball all over the yard, and you lost a game that you had no business losing because you came out and you punched him in the mouth, and then you let it get away. You let him come back into the game because you're kicking 3 instead of scoring 6. And now that this thing with Michigan's happening, it makes me laugh a little bit. I don't chuckle at people losing their jobs and stuff but I legitimately believe in Harbaugh's statement when he said, some of us were born on third base and think they hit a triple. Like that is exactly how I feel about Ryan Day.
Right. Well, because he was the OC. He
was the OC when Urban Meyer left. And honestly, like if just 1 year goes differently at Ohio State, like Luke Fickell never leaves. I thought Luke Fickell was going to get that job.
Yeah.
And
kind of crazy he went to Wisconsin.
Because when he was suspended, when Urban Meyer was suspended and he came back, Luke Fickell was the interim. Yeah. And then when Urban Meyer had to step away, then it changes and Ryan Day takes over. And I was kind of surprised by that. But now Ohio State could be in a situation where they lost out on Luke Fickell because of this. And hate to say I told you so. But
no, I hear you, man. I hear you. We'll definitely have to see. I saw that Ohio State and Michigan are pretty much both a toss-up to win the Big Ten. So that'll be interesting as far as how that goes. I think I saw Michigan was plus 100, Ohio State was plus 145, which in my eyes throughout a whole season, that's a toss-up. I definitely did not touch any of that. I have some other bets, but I didn't touch to win the Big Ten bets just because I really need to see from Ohio State standard what they do at quarterback, how their defense is, some of the question marks that they are having coming into the season a little bit. People say, oh, it's Ohio State. They'll be fine. They might be fine. But these are things I do have to find out, figure out, see a couple games before I make a bet like that to feel confident about it. So But like you said, Michigan is pretty much loaded up from last season. Plus 100, probably not a horrible bet right now. But with the Big Ten, it's loaded. Obviously there's two standouts, but there's some solid. Penn State's a solid team. I don't know how Michigan State's going to be this year. You know more Big Ten than I do. I'm watching more SEC, ACC, Big 12 kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, basically the Big Ten. I don't know if I would put an Ohio State bet in right now. If anything, I'd take a Michigan bet, but very eager to see how that turns out. Even the weeks before that game, just how these teams are playing, how they look. I know the Gophers are going to be, what is that, week 6? They're playing Michigan. So it'll be fun.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I'm just going to rip through mine real quick. On the note of Ohio State, Michigan, I have another Ohio State game on the schedule that I think, and again, I've already spit my opinion out there. Ohio State's trip to Notre Dame on September 23rd. That is another night game, and I'm watching that one. So we said USC. We saw the USC line earlier. Ohio State's a whole touchdown and extra point further along. And so they are minus 8.5 in South Bend under the lights.
Oh, wow.
Guys, right now, I'll tell you, if you can get a money line bet on Notre Dame, that's plus 200, 230 likely.
Yeah.
Look her up. Look her up. I mean, again, before you can watch this Ohio State team play, just know they're a little bit overvalued. There are a lot of people out there that pick helmets and they don't pick teams, or they don't pick the correct numbers. There's a lot of hype on them. And I think that, again, another thing that's underrated about Notre Dame right now is they have one of the best corners in the country that's going to be across from Marvin Harrison Jr. And Benjamin Morrison. And so he could give him fits. And again, Notre Dame always has a solid front seven. That game's under the lights. That's something that could rattle a quarterback that hasn't had too much experience. And it's a game in September, you know? So I think that's anything that can happen. We saw what happened when Clemson went up there last year to South Bend.
Yeah. So
Notre Dame got close last year when it was in Columbus, you know?
No, totally. Right now, they only have the 8.5. They don't have a money line option. But like you said, just based on what we know about football, how the money lines work, with an 8.5 point dog, you're looking at roughly that 225 number. Might be 200, might be, I don't know if it'd get as high as 250.
It'll probably be lower because Notre Dame is at home and how the money comes in.
Right.
So I'm expecting something closer to plus 200. But we saw this a few years ago when Notre Dame played Wisconsin in Chicago, and Wisconsin was favored by like 4 points, and Notre Dame was plus 205.
Wow,
and,
that's nuts.
And Notre Dame ran them out of the stadium. So everyone loves to hate Notre Dame in big games, but just remember this one's in their own backyard, and they're getting a lot of points. So
8.5, that's very enticing.
The other one, this might be my favorite game of the entire season. It's the first weekend of the season. It is LSU and FSU, two teams that are very hyped up. It's getting played in Orlando. I think FSU has a chance to win the ACC. I think Clemson's taking kind of a downturn. It might be the end of their run. LSU, a lot of hype on them, as you mentioned earlier. I think they might be a little bit overhyped. I like Florida State in this game. I'd take Florida State money line with it right in their backyard, even though it is a neutral game. This could be game of the year, though. Material. Jordan Travis, Jared Verse for Florida State. They got stars all over the field on both sides of the ball. Love that. FSU, who knows? They might be back. They could be a college football playoff contender. They could be a total disaster. We don't quite know yet. They're very volatile, but there's a lot of hype surrounding them right now. They got the quarterback.
That's a nice treat for week 1.
You know, Sunday night before
really
NFL starts.
Solid football game. I like that a lot. That's great. I didn't even see that game. So that's nice. That's fun.
And then I don't know, man. If I had to pick a third one, it's hard for us to not talk about Texas Bama. We saw how good that game was last year, but I'm going to go a different route. Okay. I'm going to go Georgia at Tennessee on November 18th. If there's one loss anywhere on this Georgia schedule, it is in Knoxville on November 18th. And As the line sits now, it is the Dogs -7.5. And I don't know if Joe Milton can capture the same magic that Hendon Hooker did last year, but man, I love, like, I watched Joe Milton
Joe Milton.
in that Orange Bowl, and I was like, this guy might have right now, if he was in the NFL, he might have one of the top 5 most powerful arms.
Yeah, he's got
the dude has a cannon.
I was sitting right there for that Orange Bowl.
Of course you were.
It was like the only football game I went to all year. I just happened to be in Miami, and they were playing. It was Clemson, Tennessee, and Tennessee just broke the doors off of them. I mean, it was a blowout. And Milton's arm, I've never seen anything like it in person. It is a cannon. It is a cannon. I mean, he was throwing like 70-yard balls
in the air.
Like, it was nothing. It was not like it was effortless. So that's exciting. He is going to be really good. He already is good. That game's going to be really fun. Likely what I'm going to probably end up doing, and this is.
Don't you dare say Georgia first half.
I'm not going to say Georgia first half, but I am going to tease Georgia. And this is a tough one where it's like, okay, you can get Tennessee. What did you say the line was?
7.5. So yeah, if you get 6 points down and you get a field goal to win it, like
that's how I see it's going, where the field goal covers me, and then I'm likely going to take the over, where you tease that down another 6 points, and I don't even know what the total is going to be, but maybe that game's like low 60s, and you can get a 56 number, something like that. I don't hate the other side to get Tennessee like plus 13 points. But I just think I have more faith in Georgia winning the game than Tennessee covering that number. So that's just how I see it. Who knows? Maybe it could change before that game. But this is definitely one where I would tease Georgia down, and I'd also hit that teaser over. Or maybe I just wouldn't even touch that over. I'd pick another teaser game, or maybe an NFL game where I would tease that game. So obviously there's tons of options there. But I do think Georgia wins the game. And like you said, maybe it's a last-second field goal.
Yeah, no, I'm just getting major. Like, we remember the Tennessee-Bama game last year. Like, I just want that game.
Yeah, it was awesome
to carry similar vibes in this one. And that's exactly what I'm looking for. And I might be, that's why I think it's too early for me to pick a side or how I'd bet it. But we'll have enough tape on Joe Milton to know if he is him by then. And I just really want that to be another great Tennessee home game there in Knoxville. So those are our top games. Obviously many more honorable mentions.
Many more.
But yeah, so like we'll have plenty of more football talk next week. We will have previews for week 0 of college football. There's 7 games on the slate next weekend, so tune in. We'll have that.
We'll have our bets.
Yes, sir. And I guess real quick before we sign off, let's talk a little UFC. Sure. We got UFC 292, and from what I'm seeing, I don't really have a lot of fun bets to make on this card. Really, it's the main event, right? It's Aljamain Sterling and it's Sean O'Malley. So we have Sterling sitting at -265 and O'Malley at +200 currently on FanDuel. Sammy, stats. What do we like? What are we betting?
Yeah, this I wish the line was slimmer, right? I really do, because I would take Sterling. I'd take him big. But at -250 for Aljamain, it's really tough to lay that. I mean, you got to lay 250 for $100. That's really tough in a main event where you see upsets all the time. So like I said, if the line was slimmer, I'd hammer him. But the fact that it's not, it actually makes me like O'Malley at +205 based on just how we've seen main events go. So I will likely throw maybe $50 on O'Malley. Nothing crazy. I think Sterling's going to win. I do. But at -250, I just can't really bet that. Maybe it's taking Sterling by decision or taking Sterling inside the distance. But then you're getting maybe a little too cute for a main event. I'd prefer just to take money lines. So I will be most likely taking O'Malley plus 205. I may also touch Ian Gary by knockout. He's minus 500, but I think by knockout he's like minus 185 maybe. That's a little more doable for me. So that's another fight I don't mind, kind of like. I also will take Cody Gibson plus 145 against Brad Katona. I've been watching Brad Katona in Tough, the show Tough. I don't think he's very good. He's fought some kind of washed up guys. I do know. I mean, yeah, he's 14-2, but I just don't have a whole bunch of faith in him. So I'll take Gibson on that short plus 145 there. But the big fight on this card, you can't even touch Weili on this one. She's minus 320 for a co-main event against Amanda Lemos. So I likely my only bigger bet would be Sean plus 200. Hopefully that line stays. But I will be taking Gary by knockout and then also Cody Gibson. But again, this is a card that I wish was more loaded, obviously, for being a pay-per-view event. Obviously, the Sterling O'Malley fight will be fantastic, should be fantastic. I know there's some controversy on whether O'Malley beat Peter Yan to set up this fight. That one, I've rewatched it a few times. I thought the decision was pretty spot on. It could have, I could see you arguing Yan taking that, but I liked how they made the decision with O'Malley on that one. But again, let's say like a ton of money comes in on O'Malley and this shoots this line down to like 175 or something, but I don't see that happening. I think it's going to stay pretty firm at minus 250 plus 205. And in that case, I will take the flyer on O'Malley. Obviously, very fun fighter. He's going to be juiced up for this one. Obviously, I think it's his first title event, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, I think so too.
So, yeah, I mean, do I think Sterling's going to win? Probably, but at a line that's high enough for me to take O'Malley in a main event, I'm going to take O'Malley here. Like I said, I wish it was slimmer, but it's just not. So it is what it is. This is what they give us. It might be throwing away $50, $75, but like I said, main events, crazy shit happens. And it's not like O'Malley's like a slouch. Like he can fight clearly, 16-1. So just briefly going through that, I will be taking O'Malley at that line. Don't feel necessarily great about it, but that's likely what I'll be doing.
Hey, don't sell it shorts. Don't sell it shorts, Sammy. We love the Sugar Show here on 10K Bets.
Yeah. How about you?
I'll say this right now. Dana White wonders why people stream instead of buy pay-per-view events.
Mm-hmm.
This right here is it. This card is it. There's one fight that anyone wants to watch, and that's it.
Yeah.
People don't want to pay, $90, $90 for that. So
no, I understand. It really is.
And that's it. So that's the way I'm looking.
I know people could get up for that co-main with Weili and Lemos. I mean, even then the line's pretty wide too that I'm seeing here, minus 320, plus 250. That's a tough one to really get up for, even though it is actually a pretty solid fight. But yeah, I know Marlon Vera's on that card. If a huge Marlon Vera fan, you could go for that. But it's just a card I wouldn't buy it for 90. I mean, you can stream every one of these pay-per-view fights where it's like, why even buy the card almost? So yeah, but the main event should be a banger. It really should. But that's really all I got for UFC 292. Hopefully it's better than kind of we're predicting here. Maybe a couple more knockouts, but I am excited to see that O'Malley fight.
Yeah. So man, I mean that pretty much. I mean, this is the last stand for UFC. So I'll wrap. The last thing I'll say is this was their last pay-per-view before football season starts, and I think it. I don't know. It left me left
You
a
would
little
have
bit to
thought
be
that they
desired. I
would-
think. in a
Yeah,
lot of
you would have
ways.
thought that they would have amped it up a little bit.
Exactly.
I
So
hear you there.
all right.
I
Well,
do.
everyone,
Any
thanks.
futures you want to touch on? Quickly?
I
know
do
you
have
had
one
that
future.
kinda on the list. Wasn't sure if you had any. I have a few, but go for it. You got anything?
Yeah, I've got Oregon over 9.5 wins. They've got 3 tough games
Yeah.
against Washington, USC, and Utah. I don't think they lose all 3.
Okay.
There is the Oregon State game on the back end, the last game of the year, but they get 3 of their 4 tough ones at home, which I love. So Oregon's solid under Dan Lanning. I think they get at least 10 wins this year, and that's even money currently on the FanDuel Sportsbook. So love that. So we'll hit that. Sammy, hit it quick, and then we'll get it out of here. How many futures you got?
Well,
You got some good stuff for the people?
I got some good stuff for the people. The big one that I have the most eggs in is Notre Dame over 8.5 wins. I believe that was like 400 to win like 325 or 330. That's my biggest bet. That's the one I'm most confident in.
I like that.
Notre Dame over 8.5 wins. But as far as just I won't even go into why, but just for NFL, I got the Eagles to win their division. I got the Bengals. That's minus 110. Bengals to win their division plus 141. Jags minus 150 to win their division. And then the Vikings plus 230. These are just 1-unit bets that I liked. I threw 2-unit bets on the Vikings over 8.5 win total, the Jets over 9.5 win total. And then as far as Super Bowls that I have just right now, the Jets 16-1, the Bengals 10-1, and the Vikings 30-1. So those are what I have. The Vikings, obviously, a little bit of a homer pick there, but I do like them plus 230 to win that division, and then the race is on, right? You win your division, then it's like, okay, now it's go time, right? So that's what I have. I can dive more into why and doing that just at a later date, maybe as the football season kicks off. But that's just what I got quickly. I have Tulane. Another one for college is Tulane to win their conference. I believe it was.
I think we're all on that one. I think everyone. I think even
one.
Marlo might be in on that one.
Yeah. And then I also have Texas to win the Big 12 there. It was a pretty slim number. Maybe it's like plus 125.
If not now, it's never for Texas. They're not going to walk into the SEC and do it. So,
and then I did bite the chalk, but I really like it. Georgia to win again, to win the college football playoff. There's not a lot that needs to be said. It is the chalk. I just think they're the best team in the country. They have the best coaching staff, the best recruits. If they make the college football playoff, which I would sure hope they do, then that number becomes then they're minus money to win it, when I can get them plus 200 right now, which I would assume that they're going to make that college football playoff. So that's all I have currently. I'm sure I'll add some as the season goes on, especially as I see some more NFL action to see how these teams are. But that's what I got.
Nice. Yeah, no, plenty of action as me as well. If you've been joining us over the last few weeks, we've all been trying to throw out a couple futures at the end of the show because we had to feed the beast inside us that's ready for football. But come back, join us again next week on 10K Bets, and we'll have some previews and some bets. We're not betting futures anymore starting next week. We're betting slates, and it's go time, showtime, baby.
Very
so thanks
exciting.
again. Peace out, everybody.
Yep.
Thanks for watching.